Open world driving games were quite a rare breed on the PlayStation, with many early renditions of this style would have been seen in games like the early Twisted Metal games. While you could drive around the environments, but you still were restricted to arena based type of elements. Right, you could race around city streets and the like, but you still were within the confines of the arena that you found yourself in. But that would gradually change with games when you seen the likes of the Hard Trilogy. If you looked at the third game on the Hard Trilogy compilation, that reflected around Hard 3, which was an early concept around open world type of environments. Right, yes, you had very restrictive time frames, but there were cheats in the game that would remove or stop the timer so that you had free reins to literally explore the environments, and in many ways they were massive, way more than what you initially thought in the game, which was quite surreal, especially for this time period, because you didn't think that it was possible on the PlayStation or even consoles like it, but it was a possibility. So that would later change when you seen other games started to take shape. Games more notable with the likes of the Driver series was more predominantly known to incorporate those elements, but they'd be probably the most well known of open world style driving games seen on the PlayStation. That would also help to inspire the later iterations of the Grand Theft Auto series that you would see on the PlayStation 2 and beyond, where it would transition into 3D from the early titles seen on the PlayStation 1 that would become some of the most popular games ever in existence. But there are some other known titles that were released on the PlayStation that also incorporated many of these elements, and Crime Killer would be one of those titles. That is a 3D open world action shooter game that has futuristic sci-fi gameplay elements, where you play as a futuristic cop, where you command a variety of different vehicles from a car, a bike and even a flying ship, all with the aim to combat criminals and other dangerous entities, with your goal to stop them in their tracks. So the game has elements of 3D driving styles with the likes of Hard Trilogy, like I mentioned, even with the Driver games, but it also has characteristics seen in games like Carmageddon and the Twisted Metal series, where you can utilise a variety of different weapons, where you're driving but you're also shooting as well, in order to defeat your opponents and blow up their vehicles to stop them from causing any more havoc. So you will be tasked with various different objectives, where you have to drive around each of the environments to chase after opponents that will appear on the map, and your goal is to literally take them out whatever means possible by utilising the weapons that you have at your disposal. The game can also be played from both a first and third person gameplay perspective, so you can play to your own unique style, and the game does present many interesting quirks and quips that were definitely different, and it was one of the earliest games of this kind to really utilise this aesthetic. The gameplay was very fast paced, and with its futuristic themes, the game is very dark in how it approaches itself with its graphical style, as it also has a very noir vibe and aesthetic similarly seen in popular comic books, so it tries to capitalise on that dynamic as well. Now the game did get average to mixed reviews, stating that they liked the game for its ideas and quips, but the controls could be quite fidgety and very sensitive to control. But one of the contributing factors to the game is the fact is that it was one of the very few games of its time that could run at a full 60 frames per second, considering it was an open world game, so there was a lot going on in the gameplay world around it, and the fact is it was still able to run at a very high frame rate was a testament to the development of the game itself. Right, the graphics themselves overall aren't mind-blowing, they're very simplistic, and they're more reflective of earlier type of games seen on the system, but it definitely suits the visual style that it's going for. So as you play through the game, you will have 17 different scenarios, all with the aim to pursue various criminals and complete different tasks, and all of the environments are played in full real-time 3D, so you have complete freedom of movement with regards to your driving and combat mechanics, so you can utilise a mix of non-lethal and lethal weapons with each of the vehicles that you can partake in. It also presents realistic camera physics and collision detection with regards to how you interact with the environment. One of the defining aspects of the game as well is that the game also gives you the ability to play in two-player split screen, so that you could play one-on-one against your mates, so you could go head to head, where one could be the cop and one could be kind of like the robber essentially, so that also added to the gameplay appeal and dynamic. So there was definitely a lot of intriguing elements in it, and it was definitely one of the first games of its kind to do many of these things. May not in the best possible way, but it definitely set the stage for what was to come on the PlayStation and even beyond with open world style games. While it wasn't essentially the first, it did present something really different in what it was trying to do. It just wasn't executed in the way that it could have been, but regardless of that, regardless of its flaws, it definitely stood out. It was a popular game that did sell quite well. It was appealing to a certain dynamic of players. Regardless of the reviews, it definitely had enough appeal that would have left a lasting impact on players, which also, like I said, helped to set set the stage for games that came beyond it with the likes of Drive or Driver 2, even other open world games that would also have been seen on the PlayStation and even beyond. So this game was one of the earliest concepts of open world 3D racing, to say the least. Just an interesting idea that is very reflective of its time. It's not the best game on the system, nor is it meant to be. It's just a very unique concept for its time that is different. It's flawed, it's cumbersome, it's tricky, but if you put time into it, you will have fun with it. But I would love to know your thoughts of Crime Killer for the PlayStation, and what do you think of it overall? Is this a style of game that you would have enjoyed back in the day on the PlayStation? And do you like these open world style environments that would have appeared on the console back then, as there wasn't a lot of them to be seen on the console, in fairness? So whatever you do think of the game, I would love to know your thoughts. So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around other unique and quirky open world, even futuristic style environment games or racers like this that were also released on the PlayStation, then you can check out the list of videos here on screen, even other videos I've covered previously on the channel, where you can see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.